It's a warm August afternoon in 2003. Inside a quiet suburban bank in Erie, Pennsylvania, customers freeze in disbelief. A man has just walked through the doors, a heavy metal collar locked around his neck, wires dangling, a ticking device strapped to his chest. In his shaking hands, a note demanding $250,000, that the man is Brian Wells, a local pizza delivery driver. Police will arrive within minutes. News cameras will roll, and the world will soon witness one of the most bizarre and disturbing crimes in American history. The case that would forever be known as the Pizza Bomber Heist. But here's the chilling question that still haunts investigators and the public alike. Was Brian Wells a victim, or was he secretly part of the plan? Brian Wells wasn't a criminal mastermind. He was a 46-year-old pizza delivery driver, soft-spoken, reserved, and known around Erie for keeping to himself. Most days his life was routine, driving an old Chevrolet, delivering hot pizzas, and clocking out without much notice. But on August 28, 2003, that routine was shattered. A call came into Mamma Mia's Pizzeria, an order for 2 pies to be delivered to a strange location on the edge of town, a secluded TV transmission tower site. Brian grabbed the order, loaded it into his car, and drove off. That delivery would be his last. Within the hour, Brian would walk into a bank with a bomb strapped around his neck, setting off a chain of events that felt ripped from a Hollywood thriller. Just before 2:30 p.m., Brian Wells pushed open the glass doors of PNC Bank in Erie. Customers turned their heads instantly, their eyes fixed on the bulky metal collar locked around his neck and the wires hanging down over his shirt. In his hand he clutched a long note, written in meticulous detail, demanding $250,000 in cash. The tellers froze. Some whispered. Others stared at the strange contraption strapped to Brian's chest, ticking softly like a mechanical heartbeat. With an eerie calmness, Brian placed the note on the counter and explained he had only minutes before the device would explode. Bank staff scrambled to fill a bag with cash, but they could only gather around $8,000. Brian walked out of the bank, clutching the bag, the metal collar gleaming in the sun, unaware that police had already been alerted and were closing in fast. Minutes after leaving the bank, police swarmed Brian Wells in a nearby parking lot. They ordered him to the ground, rifles aimed, as stunned bystanders gathered at a distance. Brian sat cross-legged on the pavement, the heavy collar bomb pressing into his chest. "It's going to go off," he shouted. His voice cracked with panic as he explained that he had been forced into the robbery, that the device was real, and time was running out. Officers, unsure if he was bluffing, kept their distance. News cameras rolled live as the chilling scene unfolded. Then the faint beeping began. A rapid series of clicks. Brian's eyes widened. In an instant, the collar erupted with a deafening blast, throwing him backward. The crowd screamed. Reporters captured it all. In broad daylight, on live television, Brian Wells was dead. When investigators searched Brian's car, they found something chilling. A stack of handwritten instructions, several pages long. It read like a twisted scavenger hunt, directing him to drive across Erie to collect keys and clues that would supposedly delay the bomb's detonation. The notes were precise, almost mechanical in tone, demanding that Brian follow every step without deviation. The final promise: if he completed the tasks, he would walk away with both the money and his life. But the route was impossible to finish in the short time he had. It was designed for failure. As police pieced the puzzle together, it became clear. This was no ordinary robbery. It was a meticulously staged trap, carefully constructed to confuse investigators and control Brian until the very last second. Behind the bizarre heist wasn't a shadowy cartel or professional gang. It was a group of local misfits, led by a woman named Marjorie Deal Armstrong. Brilliant, manipulative, and dangerously unstable, Marjorie already had a long history of violence and mental illness. She had once been charged with killing her boyfriend, and people in Erie knew her as unpredictable and volatile. Investigators discovered that Marjorie and her accomplices, including handyman Kenneth Barnes and ex-boyfriend Bill Rothstein, had spent months constructing the collar bomb and drafting the elaborate scavenger hunt. Their motive? Money. Specifically, Marjorie wanted cash to pay Barnes to kill her own father, who she claimed was wasting her inheritance. That it was a scheme almost too twisted to believe. lure a delivery man, strap a bomb to his neck, and use him as a pawn in their plan. And whether Brian Wells was a willing participant or a tragic victim, that remained the haunting mystery. In the aftermath, one question split Erie down the middle. Was Brian Wells a victim, or part of the plot? Some evidence suggested he might have been complicit. Investigators revealed that Wells had known at least one of the conspirators, and may have believed the robbery was just a fake stunt, until the collar bomb was locked around his neck. But others saw him as nothing more than a pawn. Friends and coworkers described him as mild-mannered, not the type to mastermind a crime. And the scavenger hunt instructions in his car looked less like a getaway plan, and more like a cruel death sentence that to this day, the truth remains murky. Was Brian a willing participant who underestimated his partners? Or a terrified man tricked into playing the lead role in a deadly game he could never win? The fallout from the Pizza Bomber heist was as strange as the crime itself. In 2010, Marjorie Deal Armstrong was convicted of armed bank robbery, conspiracy, and using a destructive device, sentenced to life in prison. Her accomplice, Kenneth Barnes, also received decades behind bars. Bill Rothstein, another key player, died before he could face trial. For the people of Erie, the scars never fully healed. The image of Brian Wells sitting on the pavement, pleading for his life, remains one of the most haunting moments ever broadcast on live television. Years later, documentaries like Evil Genius reignited public fascination with the case, but the central mystery lingers. Was Brian Wells a willing conspirator, or an innocent man caught in the gears of a deadly plot?